Hey there, Twisters. For today's video, we're going to talk about NHL legends who never won the Stanley Cup. So for today's video, we have 16 players, one from each Western Conference team, who had prolific careers, many of these guys in the Hockey Hall of Fame, but unfortunately, they came up a little bit short of the ultimate prize. So for this video and for the next video on Eastern Conference teams, we're going to be talking about players who never won the Cup and spotlighting players who spent a majority of their time with one team out there. You'll catch on as you're watching this video. So to really sum things up, guys like Ray Bourque, Dominik Hasek, they played for their franchises for a number of years, but ultimately they won the Stanley Cup somewhere else. So guys like that are omitted from this list. Of course, I want to know your thoughts in the comments below. Did I miss anybody here who represented a Western Conference franchise for a number of years? And if you're new here, if you enjoy all things hockey analysis, history, and culture, definitely join our growing hockey community here on YouTube. We'd be happy to have you along. Now, this video was actually suggested to me by CJ. He's actually on YouTube here. He does unbox a lot of jerseys, so I will put a link to his channel down in the description down below. Show him some love. He had sent me a donation, so I sincerely appreciate that. And because of his contribution, I extended the offer to him. Hey, is there something out there that you'd like me to produce? So this was one of his suggestions. I'm happy to honor that. And you guys, if you want to support the channel that way, you can see the video description down below. I have links to my PayPal and Venmo, or you can pick up some Twisted Wrister merch. And just depending on the contribution, I might actually ask you to contribute ideas for a future video. All right, so without further ado, my friends, let's dive into it. So I'm going to start with teams in the Central Division. Our first team here is the Arizona Coyotes, and I've chosen Shane Doan. Doan played his whole 22-year career with the Coyotes franchise, including his rookie season in Winnipeg. He leads the franchise in games played, goals, assists, and points. He also won the King Clancy Trophy and Mark Messier Award. He made 9 playoff appearances with the Coyotes, and over 55 postseason games, he had 15 goals, 13 assists for 28 points, 4 of those goals as game winners. The closest that Doan got to a cup was 2012. The Coyotes beat the vaunted Blackhawks in the first round, then the Predators in the second round. But in the conference final, they were outmatched by the Cinderella story LA Kings, who were an 8th seed and won their first Stanley Cup. For the Chicago Blackhawks, I've selected Doug Wilson. Wilson played nearly his entire career in Chicago. He's 9th all-time in games played, 4th in assists, and 7th in points. He won the 1982 Norris Trophy, was a 3-time All-Star, and was named to the Hockey Hall of Fame. He made 12 playoff appearances with the Hawks, scoring 19 goals and adding 61 assists for 80 points and a +11 rating. The furthest that Chicago advanced with Wilson was 1990, when they beat the North Stars and the Blues to advance to the conference final. There they lost in 6 games to the Edmonton Oilers, who won their last Stanley Cup and their only Stanley Cup without Wayne Gretzky. For the Colorado Avalanche, I've actually time-traveled back to their time as the Quebec Nordiques and chosen Peter Stastny. Stastny was one of the first Eastern Bloc defectors to enter the NHL, and he played a decade with the Quebec Nordiques. He's 6th all-time in franchise games, 3rd in goals, 2nd in assists, and 2nd in points. He won the 1981 Calder Trophy and eventually earned a trip to the Hockey Hall of Fame. He made 7 appearances with Quebec, putting up 24 goals and 57 assists for 81 points in just 64 games. The closest that the Nordiques got to the Stanley Cup was in 1985. They defeated the Buffalo Sabres and rival Montreal Canadiens before falling to the Philadelphia Flyers in 6 games. For the Dallas Stars, I could have picked Jamie Benn, but I'm actually going to select Marty Turco. Turco, I think, is somewhat overshadowed by Ed Belfour, who won the Stanley Cup with Dallas in 1999. Turco played 9 of his 11 years in Dallas, and is 1st all-time in the franchise for wins, 2nd in goals against average, and 1st in shutouts. He was named an All-Star once and finished in the top 5 for Vezina Trophy voting 3 times. Dallas wasn't all that great when Turco was on the team. They made the playoffs 5 times in his tenure, during which he compiled a 2.17 goals against average and .914 save percentage with 4 shutouts over 47 games. In 2008, Turco backstopped the Stars to the conference final in what was an unlikely run. The team took out the Anaheim Ducks in the first round and then clinched a trip to the conference final by outlasting the Sharks in 4 overtimes in Game 6. They eventually lost in 6 games to the would-be champion Red Wings. For the Minnesota Wild, it's gotta be Mikko Koivu. Apart from 7 games with the Blue Jackets, Koivu played his entire career in Minnesota, spanning 15 years. He's 2nd all-time in goals, 1st in assists, and 1st in points. The Wild went to the playoffs 9 times during Koivu's career. In 59 postseason games, he put up 11 goals and 17 assists for 28 points. The Wild still haven't advanced to the conference final since 2003 before Koivu arrived. The furthest they went during his tenure was 2014 when they defeated the Avalanche in the first round before being taken out by the Blackhawks. For the Nashville Predators, I selected Pekka Rinne. Rinne played his entire 15-year career in Nashville. He's 5th all-time in games played and leads in several major statistical categories, from wins to goals against average to shutouts, although Jussi Saros has him beat for save percentage at the moment. Rinne was a 2-time All-Star, won the King Clancy Trophy, and won the 2018 Vezina, finishing as a finalist 3 other times. The Preds made the playoffs 8 times with Rinne. In 89 postseason games, he compiled a 2.49 goals against average, .914 save percentage, and 5 shutouts. His best run came in 2017 when he put together a 1.96 goals against average and .930 save percentage to help the Preds knock off the Blackhawks, Blues, and Ducks. They ultimately fell to the Pittsburgh Penguins in 6 games. For the St. Louis Blues, I selected Bernie Federko. The Hockey Hall of Famer played 927 of his 1,000 regular season games with St. Louis, and is first all-time for that, assists, and points. He's also second behind Brett Hull in goals. Over 11 playoff appearances, Federko played 91 games, scoring 35 goals and tallying 66 assists for 101 points. The deepest run that the Blues went on was in 1986. They defeated the North Stars and the Maple Leafs before falling in 7 games to the Calgary Flames, who would lose in the final to Montreal, but would get their revenge 3 years later. And for the Winnipeg Jets, I could have chosen Blake Wheeler because of his longevity with the franchise, but I'll select Thrashers alum Ilya Kovalchuk. Kovalchuk spent 8 years with the Atlanta Thrashers and was dominant early in his NHL career. He was named to the All-Rookie team, was a 2-time All-Star, and won the 2004 Rocket Richard Trophy. In Thrashers Jets franchise history, he is 7th in games played, 1st in goals, 5th in assists, and 2nd in points. However, despite Kovalchuk's individual brilliance, the Thrashers were pretty much trash. They went to the playoffs just once with Kovalchuk, but were swept in the first round by the Rangers. Kovalchuk nearly won a Stanley Cup 5 years later with the Devils, but they could not overcome the LA Kings. Now for teams in the Pacific Division, we'll start things off with the Anaheim Ducks. It's got to be Paul Kariya. Kariya was as close as you can get to a Stanley Cup in 2003. In Game 6 against the Devils, he was victim of a punishing open ice hit by Scott Stevens and was escorted to the locker room. But just minutes later, he returned to the ice and scored one of the most remarkable goals in Stanley Cup final history. Off the floor, on the board. Unfortunately, the Devils would eventually triumph in Game 7, winning their franchise's 3rd Stanley Cup. Kariya played 9 years with the Mighty Ducks, finishing 7th all-time in games, 3rd in goals, 4th in assists, and 4th in points. The Hockey Hall of Famer was named to the All-Rookie team, was a 5-time All-Star, and twice won the Lady Byng Trophy for exceptional sportsmanship. In 3 postseason appearances with Anaheim, Kariya played 35 games, notching 14 goals and 15 assists for 29 points. For the Calgary Flames, I've selected Jarome Iginla. Just like Kariya, Iginla came within a Game 7 of a Stanley Cup, although some will argue the Flames rightfully won Game 6. Iginla dedicated 16 years to the Flames organization and finished first in games, goals, and points. The Hockey Hall of Famer was an All-Rookie team member, won an Art Ross Trophy, a Pearson Award, now the Ted Lindsay, 2 Richards, a King Clancy, a Messier, and by the way, was a 4-time All-Star. Iggy went to the playoffs 6 times with the Flames. In 54 postseason games, he scored 28 goals and added 21 assists for 49 points. And of course, his deepest run came in 2004, in which he led the Flames to series victories over the Canucks, Red Wings, and Sharks before the team was outlasted in 7 games against the Tampa Bay Lightning. For the Edmonton Oilers, I could have chosen McDavid or Draisaitl, but I'll focus on longtime Oiler Ryan Smyth. Smyth played 15 seasons in Edmonton, finishing 2nd in games played, 5th in goals, 9th in assists, and 7th in points. The Oilers made the playoffs with Smyth 7 times. In 68 postseason games, he contributed 22 goals and 21 assists for 43 points. Just like our previous 2 legends, Smyth came within a Game 7 of the Stanley Cup. In 2006, he captained the 8th-seeded Oilers during an improbable run, defeating the Red Wings, Sharks, and Mighty Ducks before falling to the Carolina Hurricanes in the final. For the LA Kings, I've chosen Marcel Dionne. Dionne played 12 seasons with the Kings. He's currently 6th in franchise games played, 2nd in goals, 1st in assists, and 1st in points. Throughout his Hall of Fame career, he won 2 Lady Byng trophies, 2 Pearson Awards, and an Art Ross, while also being named an All-Star 4 times. He made 8 playoff appearances with the Kings, and over 43 games scored 20 goals and 23 assists for 43 points. The Kings weren't particularly good until Wayne Gretzky arrived. The deepest they went with Dionne was in 1982. They actually defeated Gretzky and the Oilers in the first round that year. Game 3, known as the Miracle on Manchester, witnessed the Kings overcome a 5-goal deficit, the largest in playoff history. Ultimately, the Kings bowed out in 5 games against the Canucks in the second round. For the Seattle Kraken, they haven't made the playoffs yet, but I did want to acknowledge Mark Giordano. Giordano was Seattle's grizzled veteran for most of this season and was the team's first captain. Prior to Seattle, he played for the Calgary Flames for 15 years, serving as captain for 8 of those seasons. He has won a Messier Award and a Norris Trophy, in addition to being named an All-Star once. For the San Jose Sharks, I could have chosen Jumbo Joe Thornton, but it's gotta be Patrick Marleau. The NHL's all-time leader in games played, Marleau served 1,607 of his 1,779 games in teal. Though not as dominant as Thornton, he still holds the moniker of Mr. San Jose Shark, leading the franchise in goals and points and finishing 2nd in assists. The Sharks made the playoffs 17 times with Patty. In 177 playoff games, he scored 68 goals and 52 assists for 120 points. Only once have the Sharks made the Cup final, coming in 2016. They upset the LA Kings, outlasted the Nashville Predators, and charged through the St. Louis Blues before falling to the Pittsburgh Penguins in 6 games. For the Vancouver Canucks, it's a package deal. I had to cheat here. How can I not put both Sedin twins in here? They spent their entire 17-year careers in Vancouver. They're both at the top in games played and points. Daniel is first in goals, Henrik is first in assists. Now for Daniel's accolades, he was named to 2 All-Star teams, he won an Art Ross, a Pearson, and a King Clancy. And as for Henrik, 2 All-Star teams, an Art Ross, a Hart, and a King Clancy. The Canucks went to the playoffs 11 times with the Sedins. Henrik in 105 games scored 23 goals and 55 assists for 78 points. Daniel in 102 games had 25 goals and 46 assists for 71 points. The Canucks went to the Cup final once with the Sedins in 2011. They defeated the Blackhawks, Predators, and Sharks before falling in Game 7 against the Boston Bruins. And for the Vegas Golden Knights, I selected Jonathan Marchessault. Marchessault is one of the few remaining players from the Golden Knights' first season, and leads the club in games played, goals, assists, and points. We'll see what happens to the Knights this year, but in his first 4 years in Vegas, Marchie helped get his team to the playoffs. In 66 postseason games with Vegas, he has scored 21 goals and 25 assists for 46 points. And as we all know, in their first season, the Knights went on a wild ride to the Stanley Cup final, knocking off the Kings, Sharks, and Jets. They kept it rolling initially against the Capitals by winning Game 1 of the final, but they fell in 5 games as Alex Ovechkin hoisted Washington's first Stanley Cup. Alright guys, well what did you think of my list there? A lot of icons, a lot of Hockey Hall of Famers who unfortunately came up a little bit short of the Stanley Cup. So really Stanley Cups shouldn't be that huge of a factor when determining the longevity and prolific nature of some of these careers out there. These guys are still absolute legends in the game, certainly could make the top 100, a few of them out there. So anyway, let me know your thoughts down in the comments down below. Are there any snubs that you can think of? And stick around for our Eastern Conference video. It's already in production as you watch this, so I'm sure that we'll all be looking forward to that in the near future. And make sure that if you haven't already, hit the red subscribe button down below and the thumbs up, because that helps other twisters like you discover this channel. You can also see the video description if you want to follow me on social media. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Once again, I'm Nick. I'll catch you twisters later. Ciao.